Well, I can tell you it's always dangerous to give a group just a little bit of time. But, for the benefit of our virtual attendees, I am going to want to start the next. So we're returning now to the pilot project research reports. And here at 2:20, it's going to be Boyi, an assistant professor at the University of Florida. And he's looking at the safety challenges of mobile cobots and robot-assisted elements in a retail environment. I'm interested in knowing what cobots are. I feel that I'm so far behind the times. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's go and get started. It's a great honor for me to be here, and I'm very glad to be able to share some of my ongoing research. So this is my first time to be here, even though my home institute is only about 2-hour driving distance, and it's still a bit strange for me to wear a blue gator polo here. And the talk of my today is about safety challenges of mobile cobots in robot-assisted retail environments. Okay, bit about my background. So I got my PhD degree from West Virginia University, majoring in ergonomics. And back then, some part of my PhD program was founded by NIOSH, and NIOSH has a laboratory in Morgantown, West Virginia. So that's the first time I interact with NIOSH. And after that, I spent 2 years in Harvard School of Public Health. And my PhD postdoc mentor was the director there, so a NIOSH director, ERC Center. So I helped him and work on some of the research there as well. And start from 2018, I started my position as assistant professor at UF. So next slide. Okay, so bit of the motivation why I'm interested in learning the effect of robots and cobots application and deployment in the retail environment. I believe after the COVID, everybody knows that retail and grocery is one of the most essential business for our lives. So maybe you do not need to visit a healthcare facility every day, but I bet most of us need to shop for grocery and retail environment on a daily basis. And we know that the application of collaborative robots represents some new challenges instead of a traditional cage, human-free automation environment. So we have a much closer and intimate interaction between robots and human. And for this emerging environment, the retail environment, it represents some unique challenges, right? First of all, the environment is much less organized and confined, so which we have a lot of interactions between humans and robots, and also there are not only employees and workers, but also customers. And for those customers, they do not necessarily have any understanding or knowledge regarding the behavioral or the potential risk of those mobile cobots. So we need to design and make sure those technologies are inherently safe. And also the acceptance of technology in general and the mobile cobots may take some time, and we would like to take a closer look. Understand the personal responses to the mobile cobot in the retail environment to ensure the productivity and the safety of the human-robot collaboration system. Okay, so in terms of the research questions, and we would like to know what effect does the presence of the mobile cobot have on individuals' physical and neurophysiological adaptation in the retail environment. And we have two specific hypotheses. The first is the presence of a mobile cobot can alter individuals' physical behavior, such as the gait and the trajectory selection. and as indicated by their upper limb kinematics measures, and also the presence of mobile cobot can alter their neurophysiological behavior at the same time. Okay, so to test those hypotheses, we conducted a pilot study. We include 8 participants, and their descriptive information are illustrated here, and we represent and ask them to conduct grocery shopping tasks and to simulate both as the customer roles and as well as the retail worker roles, include subtasks such as the cart pushing, item picking, and item sorting. Okay, and this is the general protocol. Okay, and that is the environment laboratory setup, and we have one customized developed mobile cobot, which I will describe in the next slide, and depend on different task scenarios. So the robot may simulate some of the unique functions. For example, when the participant simulate as a customer role, then the mobile robot can just search around simulating as a cleaning robot or inventory checking robot. While if the participant simulate as a retail worker to fulfill the shelf, then the mobile cobot may just simulate as the follower, automatic follower, and to follow the participant. And we had self shelves and different merchandise, and there is a checkout station. Okay, and this is the customized developed robot mobile platform. And these are all the equipment, bell instrumentation system we use. We have a motion capture system, we have the eye tracking system, and we have EMG system. Okay, in terms of data analysis, the independent variable, we had a single independent variable, which is the robotic condition with and without a mobile platform. And the dependent variables, we have the physical responses, such as the upper limb kinematics measures, and we have the neurophysiological responses, including muscle activity and pupillary responses. Okay, so here comes the primary finding. In terms of physical responses, so when participants worked with a mobile platform nearby, they decreased in flexion angles of the I5S1, which is the lower back, and also the middle back and the right shoulder joint. And our interpretation is that a more erect posture with the robot, probably to minimize the physical footprint to avoid potential correlation and ensure timely responses to the unexpected action from the robot. And at the same time, this posture, more conservative posture, may also be good for them to maintain optimal situation awareness. At the same time, we conduct some preliminary analysis on the neurophysiological responses. We conducted and analyzed the trial level average and compare the pupillary responses and the muscle activity level. However, we couldn't find any significant difference in those regards. And specifically for the pupillary responses, no significant difference. And we plan to do some follow-up studies during which we can analyze more detail. And instead of just calculate the trial level average, we can look deeper and try to identify some essential moments when the robots and the human participant interact directly to see if we can find any significant differences. And same thing for the muscle activity. We couldn't figure out any meaningful difference from the trial level but follow-up analysis is required to analysis and figure out some if there's any difference at some essential moments. So in terms of a conclusion, so we believe the mobile robot stimulate personal physical responses indicated by the reduction in the average flexion angles of the lower back and the middle back and the upper right shoulder in the sagittal plane, and the neurophysiological responses were not obvious in terms of participants' muscle activity as well as their pupillary responses, which merit a follow-up investigation. And in terms of recommendation takeaway from the pilot study, we would recommend wider shelf passageways, more spaces between shelves, and less bulky robot platforms to provide a larger, safer zoom and to train the participants or potential end users better. And future directions, we already used some of the pilot results from this study to secure a follow-up grant from NSF, and we would like to recruit more participants to engage in different levels of human-robot interaction in retail settings to better understand neurophysiological adaptations to retail robots. And fortunately, we have some stakeholders from the industry, some of the leading retailers, which can provide assistance and facilities for us to try out our algorithm and physical systems in the near future. So that's all I have, and I would like to take any questions from the audience. Thank you.
All right. That was interesting. We're going to continue the theme with robots. The next speaker is Paula Faulkner at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. And topic is keeping them safe, farming practices and assistive technologies for veterans and limited resource farmers. At quite a scope. No robots. Okay.
Hello, everyone. What happened? I was trying to go to the first slide, the intro slide. So yes, I am Paula Faulkner, a professor in agriculture education in the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. And as stated, our project worked with limited resource farmers and veterans with finding practices that would help them lead sustainable lifestyles. These are my co-directors at North Carolina A&T State University, and they represent a very diverse departments as far as graphic design, ag economy, and counseling. And the counseling individuals in the College of Education, and then the graphic design individuals in the College of Science and Technology, and then Dr. Yabor and myself are in the College of Agriculture together. And so with that, we understand that the human population is on track to approach 10 billion by 2050. And as a result, agriculture is going to be posed to continue to provide food for all these individuals. And farming is going to be very important as it is now and continue to be. And we also know that there are benefits and there are also risks with farming. Which brings us to North Carolina in our state and beyond. We understand that rural residents often have a lack of information and other resources for them to be sustainable. And it was stated that the many rural counties in the U.S., especially in North Carolina, will be on life support. So the purpose of our study was to focus on North Carolina veterans and limited resource farmers, but as a result of COVID, which occurred when our project started, we were able to expand beyond our state and throughout the U.S. And we encourage more researchers, educators, and rural health providers and beyond to collaborate on projects such as we did to address this need. So basically, as I stated, the purpose of our study was to address the needs of this specific population with the aims to assess the participants' self-reported knowledge and beliefs related to farming practices, as far as to also determine their self-reported educational training and resource needs. The methods, as I stated, we started in September 2020 and ended in June of 2021 with the targeted audience, as I stated. But we also had individuals who, if they weren't farming, they had expressed interest in farming. And we used a variety of recruitment methods because, as I stated, in 2020, when we planned the project, COVID had not hit. But then by April, it had. So we had to totally revise our study. So we really had to use flyers, word of mouth, some of our veteran groups in the state and our cooperative groups, and we also used the National Agribility Project, which I have been working with over the several years. We had 2 workshops. The first one was face-to-face, but we also had to use a little bit of online with those individuals, and you can see we had 35 participants. As a result to some limitations, the second workshop was Zoom only, and I will explain that later why that had to be. As far as the data collection, we used the IRB approved survey with open and closed-ended items for our participants, and with the non-respondents, we did follow up a week later to increase our response rate. So some of the topics, we had guest speakers. During the 2 workshops, we had the same guest speakers, and we looked at assistive technologies, agrimedicine. We had someone to discuss air property, and then we also looked at mental health. And so this is just giving a snapshot of the Zoom of our individuals who were guest speakers for the 2 workshops. As far as assistive technologies, we had the North Carolina assistive technology representative speaking. And so we had someone talk about agrimedicine with Fit to Farm. And we also had our North Carolina Agribility Project Director on campus in the Cooperative Extension Program discuss agribility. And this, we showed a video to our participants of one of the farmers that we have in the state of North Carolina who experienced a very traumatic incident on his tractor. It rolled over and he was stuck for a while, and then they had to airlift him to the UNC Medical Hospital. And so we have that video, but for the interest of time today, it's not being shown, but this is just showing when he was actually being airlifted. And so we also had an individual discuss air property, which was a very topic that a lot of our participants were interested in learning more about, and for ourselves as well on the project team. And then, as I stated, Dr. Sean Smith is in the College of Education. He is a veteran, and he also is a counselor that focuses on mental health and suicide and depression, which was a great advantage to our project team. And then I'm very proud of this young lady. This is one of my former students. She was in ag economy at A&T, and then she went on to, A&T is our acronym, and then she went on for her master's at Virginia Tech in agriculture education. So Brielle is a young African-American female farmer this not too many of them out there now, and she works for USDA, but on the side she does have her farming practice. And one of her highlights was the fact that she was featured on the Kelly Clarkson show last year. Kelly actually had her and Brielle's sister on her show to talk about their enterprise, and Kelly gave them a donation so they could purchase more machinery and tools to expand on their farming enterprise. And so they are part of the Black Farmers Market in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I'm very proud of Brielle, and what she's achieving is being a limited resource farmer in the state. So that brings us to our results. So as a result of the 2 workshops, we had 80 participants, and we were able to have a 46% response rate with 37 responding, and a majority of our participants were female and African American, and we had mostly adults over the age of 45, with a majority, of course, of our participants hailing from North Carolina. And as this map shows, we were able to expand well beyond North Carolina with the assistance of the North Carolina, not North Carolina, with the National Agribility Project from Purdue University. They helped with our recruitment, and so that's why we were able to reach to so many of the states, as you see, even in California. So that's great. That was a change out of North Carolina to be able to have all those individuals participate in one of the 2 workshops. And so I know for the interest of time, but I wanted to put it on the slides just to give a snapshot of some of our participants, with a majority of them actually stating that they're not currently farming. And that's fine, because we want to educate and increase the number of farmers in the state and beyond, especially with our limited resource farmers and our African American and minorities, to decide to farm and to actually participate in programs. And so that's one of the issues that we're trying to address. And so that's fine, because some showed after the workshops that they did have an interest in possibly farming. And many of our participants did self-report. Those who did farm said that they have one or more types of crops or production that they're actually doing. So these tables are there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but the tables just coincide with the slides. And so when participants were asked about their knowledge and beliefs about assistive technologies, as you can see, a majority of them reported that they were mostly aware of the term and the state and federal agency that would provide them with assistive technologies. And so these tables, that next table talks about agrimedicine, when they were posed with what their knowledge was about that. A few exceptions with them really knowing about agrimedicine and showing a need to possibly learning more about it. Okay, 5 minutes. Okay. And so let me quickly go through. Okay. So when the participants were asked to share their knowledge on heirs property, as you can see, most reported being aware almost or sometimes about the meaning, and reported an understanding of land utilization rules, with some reporting being unaware of the selling of their land requires a unanimous decision by all legal owners. That was very shocking to them, and thus we wanted to share more information about heirs property with our participants. When mental health, that's one of my areas of focus, working with individuals in special populations. So addressing mental health is really dear to me, to be able to share more about the issues that farmers face with mental health. And most did not, they reported not having a concern with anything about alcohol or needing help, but we understand that this is a topic that's very not really comfortable with sharing with concerning mental health, but we're looking for ways that will allow participants to be more comfortable with addressing that, because suicide and depression, as we stated in our educational group yesterday, is really necessary to address. And so these are just some other topics that our farmers or participants, not necessarily farmers, but our participants shared about topics that they would like to learn more about. But this is how they wanted to have the information shared to them. Remember, we were in during the COVID back in 2021, and so they really wanted to have face-to-face and conferences and field days, which we had initially planned for, but unfortunately were unable to do, and very few, reported preferring Zoom meetings. And so some of the topics were drones that they wanted to learn more about, tax preparation and farm safety, with few stating that they needed any topics on health and the use of technology. As far as some other topics, as you can see, they wanted help with grant writing and developing business plans, more so from our African American female farmers, and about hemp production. I don't know about your state, but I know we have quite a few farmers and individuals in the state of North Carolina who are interested in the hemp production. And so let's move on. I see the interest of time. So these are just some additional results that we found when we gave the participants the opportunity to address topics that had not been covered in the survey. And so as you can see, what this individual said, that they wanted to learn more about air property and pesticide certifications and tracking and farm success with their financial support. And then 7 other participants gave us some more information as far as, saying, I don't know enough to know what I don't know. So that's encouraging for us to be able to continue educating individuals about what they should know. And one person said it was very informative and thanked us for our help. But so the limitations of the study, there were many that challenged us. As far as the workshop delivery, we tried face-to-face. We tried to stay on campus because our travel was restricted. And we tried to offer online delivery at one of our farmer groups in the state. That didn't go over very well, and so that caused us for the next workshop to deliver it via Zoom. And then we had personnel changes. One of the original co-directors, she left the university in May of 2020, and so therefore I had to find additional personnel to come on board as far as helping with the online delivery and the recruitment. And as I stated, travel was restricted until basically early 2022. So we late 2021, so we weren't able to travel to the sites, which we really wanted to do and hopefully we can do in the future. And so here are just some conclusions based on our results, with a majority of the participants, as I stated, preferring face-to-face. So we're encouraged to really provide that to them. And because of their lack of finances, many of them experience lots of stress. This is some of the discussion just to continue going. I know my time is up, but really regarding mental health, the individuals, are, like I stated earlier, less likely to share these feelings, but we are encouraged to find ways to provide them with this information and how they can get treated. And I want to acknowledge the Southeast Center. Thank you so much for your assistance with offering this workshop to our individuals. And then I want to give acknowledgments to the Advanced Project at North Carolina A&T that helped with the data analysis of this project. And so with that, thank you.
Do it different every time. Okay. So, listening to our last speaker, having some tie to Raleigh, you do know now that you've heard about the Agricultural Center, or you will also in Kentucky, and then the Total Worker Health Center that's at UNC. And that I was just impressed with I think what seemed to be the clear needs of small farmers across an extraordinary range. With the robots shopping, that was customers doing a shopping trip and then robots stocking the shelves at the same time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was intrigued that they were more erect. We'd like them to have a good posture, but at the cost of wondering when they're going to run into that robot seemed to be a challenge.
Yeah, first of all, we need to ensure that the robots are safe, in terms of the object avoidance algorithms, and when the robot goes wild, we can have some mechanism to stop.
Yeah, so that was true. Any questions from the audience? We've got one here.
I thought it was telling that mental health is such like a hard to talk about issue for farmers, where they were like, the survey respondents said they don't have concerns about depression, but they're also always feeling hopeless and always feeling down. What strategies were you all using or hoping to use moving forward to maybe reduce some of the stigma about talking about that with researchers? And thank you. The robot was also very interesting. Thank you.
So in the future, because as I stated, we were only able to deliver the workshop via Zoom, I would imagine in the future to have specific sessions that are smaller and more intimate, where you can be open and discuss it without feeling a stigma. And then also with that farmer that I showed the video, not the video, the photo of, he has attended a lot of our workshops on campus for agribility to share his experience. And so once he shares his experience, what happened when he lost a limb and what the depression he felt with that, of course, then that would be more engaging and help people to feel, more open to express the depression and the suicide incidents that is occurring. Yes.
Yeah, and that was a tractor rollover, you said.
Yes.
The ag centers for a long time, I'm going to say decades, pushed these rollover protection devices. And I think that effort's largely subsided. Any ag center, is there anybody actively looking at ropes? Because there used to be subsidy programs and things like that for the conversions, I thought.
That's what agribility does. They subsidize and help, but please.
Well, that's okay. The Northeast Center in particular has been really strong in that, and they've had active ad campaigns, and they had ways for farmers to get rebates on that. We had a project in Kentucky that just finished after 5 years that Stacy Vincent was running, in which we were training school children, high school VOAG students, to make ROPS using the NIOSH ROPS. There was a lot of controversy associated with that over liability issues. We felt like that we were doing a good job. We had an engineer check the wells and the bolting and all that to make sure it was proper. The one thing that we did see, we weren't changing attitudes in older farmers very much with rollover protection. We're having more success with the younger farmers. I did have a question. One of the worries I have is about people not being interested in going into farming. Did you get a sense of that there was some reluctance, or do you see more eagerness of people to consider farming as a career?
Farming as a career is decreasing, and especially in the African American community and minorities. We are having a problem with recruiting, retaining, and graduating our underrepresented groups in agriculture, but what we are trying to do is expose them and educate their parents, because with the stigma of agriculture being hard labor, they're not aware of the different careers like food science and animal science in our college. That's very and one of our products here from our animal science department is here, that's one of the popular areas. So trying to expose them, as I stated, one of my former students, she is farming on top of working for USDA and APHIS. She's also farming. So having people like herself show the benefits of farming, it's helping a little, but we're trying to change that stigma and that perception of agriculture just being sows, plows, and cows. You know, to say you can be a food scientist, you could be an animal scientist, things of that nature. So that's what we're trying to basically change the image.
Dr. Faulkner, thank you for that presentation. My research is also on farmer mental health and suicide. And one of the concerns with the farming community is reaching out for help and just the stigma, but also with social isolation. And so in Kentucky, with non-white farmers, some of the issues in interacting with farmers is that not only do they have the isolation and just working their farm and the demands of working a full-time job plus farming, but also feeling like they can't get support from Extension, that they can't get support from the USDA, and that's an extra level of stress that our non-white farmers experience, and it contributes to those mental health problems, right? Whether we're talking to them in the community. And I wonder if in your work with your farmers, and I love that you were able to speak to female farmers, which is an entirely other subgroup, right? I wonder if you got a sense of feeling of social connectedness or disconnected and being able to get support from, not only from family members, but for external resources like from the USDA, FSA, from Extension, and commodity associations, commodity partners, right? Or even church groups and religious groups among your population.
And that's exactly what the former student, Miss Bria Wright, is doing with some of her activities in some of the rural areas and counties in North Carolina. She's having like farm days where she's bringing federal agencies in so they can talk about the resources that they can offer to the community. So basically bringing people in as a community, as you said. I didn't know you were going to step away so quick. So having communities there and letting people to learn as a group breaks that isolation and brings people together, so then they can share and they can see that they're experiencing some of the same things and they're not isolated. So I commend her for, you know, doing these things and having the agencies there. And so I work with my colleagues on grants to provide that. So we have a new grant through New Farmers and Beginners, just funded last year. And so we're offering workshops, and especially to the community gardeners. We have a community gardener group right there in Greensboro that they attend the workshops and learn information. And so my group yesterday, we talked about the educational part with the ticks and the mosquitoes, and I think that information would be a good topic to share with those individuals, because ticks are not only in the woods, they're in our backyard, so in the urban areas too. So these things are very helpful with bringing communities together and to learn as a group. So thank you for that.
Okay, any others? Okay, oh, please. What I'm doing is taking away from a 5-minute break. We're going to segue into the next set. Go ahead.
Thank you to both speakers. My question is for Dr. Hu. I'm wondering what you think the major obstacles are until we regularly see cobots in the retail, like working alongside human workers.
So I think we have several. I wonder what stakeholders. Okay, so
I have a question. So what stakeholders are talking about? The barriers from the business owner's point of view, or the workers' point of view, or the customer's point of view, and from the designer and developer point of view. So we just, outside of this project, we conducted a series of surveys and questionnaires, and I can share some of my findings here. First of all, from engineering developers' point of view, the technology is not fully ready yet. So we can have it function well 99% of the time, but the only 1% of when the robot goes well can consume all the benefits it can potentially bring about. We conducted a series of laboratory simulation that we can confirm that, when the robots show some unreliability, unpredictability, the participants, both in the customer role as well as the worker role, shows so they are very reluctant, and they show the behavioral changes, the physiological changes, and also from the customers and potential business owners in the long-term investment and return. So they need to make sure this is a long-term profitable options for them, and also other technology acceptance. This is the ease of use and the ease of the usefulness. So people, they need to accept that they can really bring some benefits. So this is a really long-term effort.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you both for presenting your results. And I'd like to, at this point, John, I think you're going to host the next set. And so we're going to transition into the next set of papers. But we've got a few minutes, so stand up, stretch, avoid postural fatigue, but don't leave the room.